All right, so good afternoon, Agile and Architecture community. It's a pleasure to be here. As you can see, the talk title today is How a Lean and Structured Team Topology Amplifies Productivity. I'm a storyteller, so I'm going to use this entire 30 minutes, 35 minutes telling you a story. So pardon me, I'm not going to throw a lot of big, complex jargons on you. I believe in simplicity. So I think it's all about a simple, sweet story of my organization where we try to take certain steps to improve. All right, so you're with me? Perfect. So how a lean and structured team topology amplifies productivity. Oops. One moment. How come these 7, 8 teams, the earphones, are stuck together? I know I'm supposed to deliver a talk. The flow is restricted. My delivery stopped. I need to detangle them. Look at these 7 to 8 teams, earphones. They're just not getting detangled, no matter how hard I try. It's all so slow. I cannot use any of them. Useless for me. I give up. This is the exact level of frustration we all feel, or our organization and teams feel, when all these multiple teams who are working towards the same software start getting too much dependent on each other or have their goals which are constantly entangled, and that impedes the value delivery. Have you experienced this? Does it hurt you? It definitely hurted me. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate or show you a video of one of the high-performing teams in the world. This video is from Ferrari Pit Stop. I hope it works. Mr. Murphy supports me. Beautiful, isn't it? I wish, yes. That I don't remember, but I think it's just a video randomly taken from YouTube. Like I said, I'm a storyteller. I had to mix and match things. So, all right. So beautiful. I always wish all our software teams could operate like this. If you look at this screenshot, let's assume this is an organization with all these individuals representing small distributed teams. They all have a common vision or goal in their mind. They all want their team to win. So they are all in here to win the trophy. That's the overall purpose they are on playing for. Now, if you look at all these teams, they are beautifully coordinated, but in no way they are being dependent on each other or trying to entangle each other in terms of their value delivery. Now, let me begin our story. I come from Topologies. We are a company having multiple product portfolios. GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, LastPass are few of our great products which are out there. This story is about an organization which had a size of 15 teams working together to produce a common product. Almost a year back, we wanted to set an engineering OKR for this organization. Now, you all must ask, what is OKR? OKR stands for Objectives and Key Result. It is a goal-setting framework. We all came together and we set this OKR of building a high-performant engineering organization with hybrid engineering teams that are able to respond quickly to changes in the business environment and deliver customer value with speed. So what we wanted to achieve is a building high-performant organization of course, which is Agile. We wanted to respond quickly to the changes, and at the same time, we wanted to deliver customer centricity, customer value, with the speed of light. We defined multiple initiatives. We wanted to reach to our OKR, so we had multiple initiatives. We started working towards these initiatives, and we realized we are stuck. No matter how hard we try, we are not getting there. Then we did a detailed analysis of our organization, and we realized we had these amount of challenges and symptoms what our organization is going through. The first one is our teams had no autonomy. I don't think I should be talking about autonomy anymore because since morning, I think in different talks, we've all been listening to this word autonomy. Meaning all our teams were constantly being dependent on each other to deliver the piece of the software. Our teams also did not have clarity around what are we solving for. What does the overall big picture look like? What's that purpose for which our product exists? How is the systems view looking like? Everyone was working in their own silos. This also caused a lot of unclear focus to the team, and eventually, we didn't have team boundaries. So I'm talking about a setup of 15 teams. All the teams were working on repetitive teams on what the other teams were working on. So repetitive things like this team is working on something which the other 3 teams were already working on. Absolutely no visibility of the overall systems perspective. This all was causing huge cognitive load for our engineers and teams. In different retrospective, we often heard things like, the work in progress is so high. You know what? In one sprint, we have 4 to 5 sprint goals. Oh, the daily stand-up, we talk about 4 different topics which we are working on. This all gave us a sense that if we do not act in time, probably we may have a lot of unhappy people, burnt out, eventually maybe a great wave of resignation. We were not there yet. Of course, I should not mention, because of these dependencies and entanglement, we had a lot of hands-off and waiting times. We could not deploy frequently and forget about whatever the best trend industry standard is. This made our entire system very redundant and slow. I'm talking about a year back. We went through a few painful reorgs in the past where some of the engineering leaders came together and they thought maybe moving people from this team to another team, merging teams, splitting teams may help, but nothing came to our rescue. And then, as our milestone or roadmap, we were transitioning to modern engineering practices. So we wanted to go through no-ops model, going to cloud. You can imagine, I was just over the lunch talking to a few folks about going to cloud. I mean, it's not that easy task. Looking at all these symptoms and challenges, we thought we have to act now. If we do not act in time, probably we may lose a lot. We did a lot of impact mapping of all these challenges. So basically kind of a future perspective. Like we do retrospective, we did what may go wrong, what we may lose. And then we realized some of our engineering KPIs, like lead time for change, cycle time, deployment frequency, review time, uptime, already started coming, in a downward trending way. So if we do not pay attention, it could also start impacting our business level KPIs, like net promoter score, time to market, annual revenue retention, profits, etc., etc. Like I said, this didn't happen yet. So this was all our future risk or impacts which we thought could happen if we do not act in time, removing all these challenges. And then a few engineering leaders, architects, they all came together and started brainstorming around what frameworks or what techniques may help us to come out of this mess. And this is where we got introduced to this awesome book called Team Topologies, which I think I listened at least 20 times since morning. So everyone is talking about it now. This book is written by Skelton and Manuel Paisin, and a lot of concepts in the book we could kind of relate to. We thought, oh, they are talking about cognitive load. They are talking about multiple value streams. They are talking about Dunbar's number. They are talking about Conway's law. These are all the things which we wanted to improve in our organization. And this is where we thought probably this could be a magical wand which our organization can use. Some of you probably who know Team Topologies, I should not repeat the concept, but some of you who have never heard about it, maybe I'll quickly in next 7 to 8 minutes take you through these concepts. The first one is Conway's law. In 1960s, Melvin Conway, who was a computer programmer, came up with this statement, which eventually became a law, where he stated, any organization that designs a system will produce a design whose structure is a copy of organization's communication structure. Well, to be honest, almost a year back or more than that, when I read this, I had to read it like 20 times to understand it. So let me paraphrase it for you. If you look at the first diagram, you see there are these small distributed teams in this organization. When these teams work together, interact together, you see they all have their boundaries defined. When these teams work together, they are more likely to produce a software whose design is going to be modular or more service architecture. Unlike the second diagram, where you see a lot of teams without defining any rules of engagement, any boundaries, just put together in a co-located surrounding, and they are asked to work together, they will create something which will look like a monolith. So it's very, very important that you ensure you're following or respecting Conway's law. I don't need to emphasize on what will happen if we keep adding more teams and more people to the second diagram. Probably this monolith will go on becoming more complicated. Someone was explaining me in the lunch break, for 25 years we are handling this monolith, and now this is like kind of out of control. So I think we really, really need to be vigilant around what kind of systems are we building. Cognitive load. In a few talks, again, this was already discussed, but if we look at cognitive load, there are 3 types of cognitive load. Intrinsic, which the engineering teams need for their internal knowledge or developing that piece of software. For example, if I'm using Java, how do I define classes in Java? This kind of knowledge I need, which will add my intrinsic cognitive load. Next is extraneous cognitive load. Now, this is really dangerous. In a developer's life, he or she deploy multiple features. Let's assume they are using different platforms and different subcomponents to learn about all these ecosystem and all these environmental infrastructure. This adds a lot of pressure on the team. And this is where it is labeled as extraneous cognitive load. I think the talk before, the speaker already mentioned that you should try and reduce the extraneous cognitive load. It's very, very important. The third one is all about problem solving or germane. So I think we can promote or try to maximize the germane cognitive load within the teams. Now let's have a keen look at what are the different team types. In any software organization, there are 4 types of teams defined: stream-aligned team, enabling team, complicated subsystem team, and platform team. To be honest, a stream-aligned team is mapped to a value stream. A stream-aligned team is often also referred to be a product team or a feature team. And if you look at the enabling, subsystem, or platform team, they are supposed to support the stream-aligned team in their value delivery. So there's one purpose here. Stream-aligned team should never slow down. When we are talking about moving with the speed of light, when we are talking about speed as a habit, when we are talking about being there in the market first, when we are talking about MVP, time to market, everything can be achieved if you maintain the flow of your stream-aligned team fast. So it's all about keeping the fast flow of your stream-aligned team. And that's the reason you have enabling, complicated subsystem and platform team to support or take that extra pain out from them. Enabling teams are the one who are a group of subject matter experts who come and fill the capability gap of stream-aligned team. So for example, your stream-aligned team wants to know some knowledge around user experience, or let's say infrastructure automation. The enabling team will come and just upskill them so that their flow is still accelerated. Complicated subsystem team need extra PhD level knowledge around that subsystem, so they will build, own, and maintain that subsystem, which can be used by your stream-aligned team. On the other hand, right now I'm product managing a few platform teams, and another thing I would like to add here, platform teams, internal platform teams should run like products. They should focus on what kind of developer experience they are giving to the stream-aligned team. Let's say a stream-aligned team is using a particular platform to deploy their feature. They should just be able to plug and use. So platform teams need to operate keeping voice of customer in their mind, and they should ensure that they are giving a smooth and enhanced experience to all the stream-aligned teams they're working for. So stream-aligned team needs to maintain absolutely great flow of change, and enabling complicated subsystem and platform team should support it. Now I'll tell you one thing very interesting. We will come to that story. When we started analyzing my organization and we went team by team writing what type of team type it is, we realized we had a rainbow. All our teams were stream-aligned, enabling complicated subsystem and platform. Can you imagine the amount of cognitive load? I mean, we are all humans, right? So we also need to think about that aspect, that how much can an engineer or a team handle? So it's very, very important that you define hygiene around how your team types are set up. Now, someone already said about interaction mode, so I will quickly cover it. There are 3 types of interaction which should happen between teams. Too much communication is also bad communication. So let's say yours is a stream-aligned team and mine is a platform team. What type of interaction should we have? Of course, acts as a service. Because you're going to use my service, you're a consumer of my service, so the very common or generic interaction which should exist between a stream-aligned team and a platform team is X as a service. There is no need to have too much of collaboration or facilitation there. So remember Conway's law? The more the permutation combination of your interaction and communication, the more complex your pattern of design will become. The more your teams will interact, the more they will have entanglement of their deliverable, and the more it will reflect in your architecture. So please ensure that you're paying extra hygiene and attention to your team type and your interaction modes. All right, now let's talk about last concept, inverse Conway maneuver. It's very, very beautiful and very well expressed. Now, in the inverse Conway, the guideline or the suggestion is any organization who is building a product, service, software should start with how the desired or target architecture should look like. I loved that in many talks they mentioned that we should focus on evolutionary architecture, right? So you should think about how your target architecture should look like. I'm not talking about a rigid concrete, this is it kind of an architecture. You put that target architecture in the center, and then you start thinking about what kind of teams do we need to evolve, which kind of contribute or align and promote this target architecture. So we don't start with teams and fit architecture somehow. We start with architecture and evolve our teams and organizations. So I think it's very, very important. It's easy for companies who are in greenfield, like you're setting everything new. I think you can really make good advantage of all these great concepts. But let's say you're already in brownfield, it's still no opportunity lost. You can still fix it. And we'll look at it later. All right. Any questions so far? Or I can continue. I need to take a water break. Okay. Sure, please. Perfect, no problem. All right. So remember my story? I said we wanted to build a high-performant organization. We had this OKR. We wanted to be agile, customer centricity, value delivery with the speed of light. And then we realized how many challenges we had, which was impeding all of this. And then we realized, if we do the impact mapping, all our engineering KPIs may suffer, all our business KPIs may suffer. I'm continuing the same story. So looking at this example, or all our symptoms, a group of architects and engineering leaders, agile coaches, we all came together and we did a kickoff. This was the time we had to take some action. In our kickoff session, we went through all the 15 teams. Team by team, we defined and reviewed what kind of team type is this team currently? What kind of ownership model this team is having right now? What kind of cognitive load this team is having, and at the same time, in what different ways this one team is interacting with other 14 teams of this ecosystem. It was a Herculean task. It wasn't easy because no one did it before. So I think there were a lot of gray areas. We don't have answers for this. Oh, this looks completely different. So it's a part of the game, right? We are learning to rope. So we started team by team, and we did this exercise for all the 15 teams. You see here? We all closed ourselves in a room. We sat on the ground, and we all made this team topology for each team. After doing that, we also ensured that everybody is having the same understanding of the concepts of team topology. I mean, it can't be that your definition of stream-aligned team and my definition of stream-aligned team is completely different. Usually this happens in organization. When I say agile and when you say agile, I think you very well covered it in your talk, right? So I think, first of all, we need to have shared understanding on all these fundamental concepts, what we were trying to use in the later half a year. And then, after defining all these different charters, we tried to put them all together. It's like puzzle pieces. We had to build the map of our overall org world. How does it look like? It was an eye-opening mess. Like I said, it was a rainbow. Every team was doing everything. Every team was owning everything. And you know what? Each team was interacting with other team, at least in hundreds of different permutation combinations. Oh, that was like this feeling for all of us. But the best thing is, when you do something visually, when you have visual factory, the impact is high. I mean, people keep complaining in retrospectives and big room retros like, this is our problem, this is our challenge. But when you actually start drawing these charters and put them on the floor or on a wall, you realize, where is the problem? So I think I'm a big fan of visual factory, one of the concepts from Lean. Later on, this was the current health score card for our organization. Now, what we had to do? We had to define a high-level design. So again, the same working group, we all came together and we started working on inverse convey maneuver. This is how our desired architecture roughly should look like. Let's put it in the center. And now, what kind of teams or skill set do we need to evolve which will do justice to this kind of architecture or design? And this was the most tedious talk again. Because we had no clue. This was the first time we were doing it the other way around. It was very easy to just have this natural evolution of your org randomly. But this is the very first time we thought about the architecture and then evolving our different teams with different skill set. Now, there was one more challenge. You can't have one stream-aligned team, and for that one stream-aligned team, enabling and subcomponent and platform team. There is a ratio. For every 8 to 10 stream-aligned teams, you should have 1 to 2 platform teams, 1 to 2 subcomponent teams. So again, that was like, what are you talking about? No, we can't do that. So I think it was a lot of change management for us as an organization. So after doing that, we went into detail level org design because now we had to talk about each team. Each engineering manager asked this question, what it means for me? Will I get understaffed? Will I get overstaffed? How do I get these extra skills which my new team type require? Etc., etc. That needed all of us to go through the entire staffing, what kind of skills we are lacking, where we can merge, where we can split, what we can do. So I think the devil lies in the detail. After reading the book, we all thought, so easy. We all are champions now. read the book 3 times, just implement it. It's not that easy. When you start doing it, you start realizing there's a black box, and there's a black box, and there's a black box, and every scenario is so different, and you don't find answers anywhere. Because one thing, it's good when you attend conference. One thing I learned, everyone is figuring out how to solve a problem. So it's not like there are experts out there. So I think this was an eye-opening thing for us, that we really had to think about, unlearn, learn our patterns around how do we staff, what skills are there, what we need to hire for. And then, once this design was done, we started the preparation for communication. Now, an org size of 200 plus people, you are driving a big transformation. It's a big change management. You can't just do big bang. You need to ensure that your communication is getting right to your people. So we had to do a lot of efforts in terms of putting communication on different forums. We did PR FAQ, which is a technique from Amazon. Press release, frequently asked questions. So you start writing about why are we doing this change? On what basis or criteria this change is going to happen? What are the scientific reasons, or what all different solutions we already explored, and why we thought this is the right thing to do? So I think this PR is more like a press release. Based on that, we did a lot of FAQ from different teams. We also used multiple forums like all hands, virtual cafes, one-on-ones, blog posts, tech talks, just to ensure that we are addressing the problem and hardships of teams and individuals who will be a part of this reorganization. We did a great job with communication. I think one thing I learned in this transformation, communication is the key. You bring your people along, ask them their feedback, half transformation is done. You won't feel resistance. People want to be a part of your journey, and I think it's very, very important that instead of making it top-down, engage everyone. So that's what we did. And then the day came when we started rolling out this new plan. So the whole new reorg, the topology, was rolled out. Later on, we also invested a lot in team charters, objectives, and key results, defining multiple OKRs on different levels, and at the same time, having a lot of team building sessions. So this worked. These are some of the workshop impressions, if you see, and it was fun. Now, I'm also asked a lot of time this question. Come on, it would be easy. Co-located teams, you all were in one room. It was so easy to, map these things on the floor. So I have another use case here. This is one team which was completely remote. This particular product team, they are again the same size, 15, 17 teams, and all were in different geographies. So we also did the same transformation here. And if you look at this example, we basically used MiroBot. And if you see, again, we made, I think the lines, the interaction lines are very, very small, so you can't see it. But basically, between all these teams and the other teams, there are these interaction modes. So it's really like a spaghetti kind of diagram, if you see here. So long story short, it doesn't really matter what kind of setup you are in. If you have this intent to drive this kind of a reorg, if you are familiar with the concepts and you are iterative and you are taking smaller steps in doing this whole transformation, it's possible. It doesn't matter if you're co-located or it's remote teams. Some of the major key takeaways for us. First, fix it before it's too late. I'm fortunate to work with a company where our leaders are very pragmatic. We constantly hear this from our CEO and CTO that speed should be our habit. And I think we live that. Any point of time we feel there's a challenge, there's a problem, fix it now. Again, Toyota principle. Stop everything, work on the problem area. So I think this is what we did. We fixed it before it was too late. Next, I already told you, communication was the key here. A good communication really helped to drive these kind of changes. We all are humans, right? We like to get communicated. It's in our nature. So I think that's what we use as a strength for driving this kind of a reorg. Then I already told you, concepts are easy, very simple, easy to understand. I can do a lot of tech talks around multiple frameworks after reading the book, but the real devil lies when you start executing it. It's really challenging. It's like I read a lot about swimming. I watched so many videos from Olympics, but when I go in deep waters, it's totally different experience, and I think that's what we felt as well. And then one smart thing what we did, we worked in smaller working groups. Do not go big bang. If you're an organization of 200 people, you cannot engage all 200 people in the first round. So engage smaller working groups, and then also look for areas which are most feasible and most efficient. I always try to use this matrix for myself. You should draw feasibility to efficiency matrix. Work on the areas, I mean the change management, which are most feasible and most efficient. Don't go in the area where it's least feasible and least efficient. You'll start giving up. And then, of course, healthy org culture, your mindset, your engineering excellence, your engineering culture, all of this comes together and play a vital role here. Someone said this nice thing, I don't remember in which talk, setting clear goals and vision. I think it's so important and so powerful that you try and explain your teams, why do we exist? So start with purpose. Why do we exist? Vision. What impact do we want to create for what we exist? So you have to talk about this product. Why does this product exist? Why does this team exist? What are we solving for? What impact do we want to create? Because all these people, when they feel they are a part of a bigger purpose and a bigger cause, I think the motivation is absolutely different. So it's very, very important that are you showing your team the small little functional goal, or are you trying to show them the bigger purpose of where your organization is heading towards? Last, do not try to make everyone happy or sell ice creams. There will always be situation, people will be unhappy, you will face resistance. But if you have followed a very scientific approach of doing something, you need not worry. Numbers should speak for itself. And that's what happened in our case. We started with a couple of KPIs. We are a very data-driven company. We had this before after. It's like a health transformation journey, right? If I want to lose weight, I start with my health card right now. What's my weight? What's my BMI? What's my cholesterol, etc., etc. I'll do the health transformation, and then I'll again do my health check. Did it go down? Did it go up? We did the same thing. We had a couple of KPIs in place, which we had a before kind of data tracked, and then after this whole transformation, we did the audit, and we realized our cycle time, deployment frequency. You see, the deployment frequency came from once a week to multiple times in a day. Our cycle time improved by 67%. And so you can see the cognitive load, lead time, everything started showing green numbers. One thing I want to specifically say here, I think Rebecca also mentioned this, and I heard it from my CTO multiple times. When you talk about KPIs, do not chase 0 to 100. Let's say I'm on 0. My ambition should not be like in one go in next 3 months, I should be at 100. Come on, let's be real. The pragmatic approach here is, are my KPIs going towards an improvement trend? Is it giving me a graph which is showing me a graph of improvement? Is the trend line positive? If it is, you are in the right journey. So do not give up if your KPIs start giving you a validation that, hey, we are all improving. So I think that's enough validation that you're on the right path. And like I said, we still have challenges. We are figuring out, but we are all in this journey together. The world is moving so fast, so I think we have to keep iterating, we have to keep learning, and it's a journey of continuous improvement. With this, I conclude my talk. One moment. Let's have a look at it. Oh, this looks nice. This as well. All sorted. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a really good magic trick. So we're out of time, but you also started a few minutes later, so I think we'll have time for one question. There are a lot of questions here, and most of them you actually answered throughout the talk, at least as far as I could see. But one of the things that kept popping up is, how do you measure the cognitive load? And how did you measure that it had gone down 68% lower?
Great question. So I knew that this question will come. We have derived a small formula and we have our own framework. Whoever asked it, I can connect offline and share it with you because I think the time will not permit me. We do a lot of surveys with our engineering teams and we have these radars of asking different type of 10 questions and then we average them out. So we've formulated something which I can definitely share with you. But yeah, cognitive load is a very subjective topic. So it's a good question that how do you actually track it? So yeah, we tried and it's working.